What would you do if you woke up in the morning to discover that you're the bad guy in a book you hadn't written? It was the same for a man we're going to call Mark. It began with an old-fashioned phone call received by a detective. They went beyond asking questions. They were laying accusations, serious ones. Mark was a ghost. He lived to himself, had regular employment with no traffic violations. However, he was, according to the legal paperwork amassing on his kitchen table, a monster. A person was recording detailed official reports of him. They were familiar with his timetable. They could provide him with his social security number. In fact, they knew what he bought last Tuesday at the grocer's. He was straining in his work, took his labor to breaking point. He was cut out from his job so that his boss wasn't even able to look him in the eye. This is the end of the phone calls from his friends. Nothing feels worse than having everyone believe a lie before you have time to tell the truth. During every night's sleep, Mark would go to the internet, attempting to locate his shadow. He was beginning to feel he was losing his mind. Were there any leaks in the system? Did they wire him up? This was a nightmare that the walls were closing in on and the law were closing them. The rest is history, except for the turn of events that changed it. Since police had failed to listen to Mark's wishes, he decided to work with a private investigator. He assumed he'd find the girlfriend of somebody he slept with, or the husband of someone he had a crush on. However, the path would take him somewhere that he hadn't thought of. It was no old reporting. They were people from a computer inside his very apartment building. In particular, his assistant.
He had no idea that his next-door neighbor's name was Jim. But this man, this stranger, had taken Mark's mail for months. They weren't simply after arresting him and then taking over his identity to hide behind to secure their own arrest. The neighbor figured that if Mark looked like a criminal, he'd be able to stay out of sight. The climax was when the police went to search the downstairs apartment. They spotted a wall with pictures on it of Mark. It was a shrine of when it means his cure for identity theft. Mark wasn't only being slandered, he was being substituted. Eventually, Mark's reputation was restored, but not all the damage has been repaired. He has seen the practical effect of his bad reputation firsthand. We're a tight world, and in seconds, a tight door is enough to ruin someone's